Today we have Buckeye. This comes to us not from Tuffy Marginas, but from Tuffy's friend Carl, who lives in Berkeley, California. Tuffy stopped on one of his hikes and visited with Carl and took this piece of wood right from his firewood pile and sent it up here to me, and today we're going to turn it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Wood Shop, howdy. But before we turn it, I'm going to do some trimming. I'm going to trim this branch right here somewhat. Some of these little projections over there. Probably that one sticking out. I'm also going to shorten it some. The way this is right now, this will be the top and this will be the bottom. But that might change after I do a little cutting on it. So I'm going to take it over here to the bandsaw, cut off those projections, and we're going to have something in there to turn. So I think it's going to be interesting. The bark is not super tight, but not super loose either. So I'm hoping some will stick with us. It is going to be an end grain turning. See how that works out. Haven't done one of those for a while. So let me get to the bandsaw and I'll meet you back over here at the lathe. Because this appears to be a very soft wood, I didn't want to trust just a single woodworm screw to hold it, so I've installed this faceplate ring. And for those not familiar, a faceplate ring is really just a faceplate that has a dovetail on the inside of this groove here, which matches up with the dovetail on the outside of the chuck jaws. So that way, instead of using a faceplate, I can just open my chuck jaws into that dovetail, and we get a nice strong metal-to-metal grip, and I don't have to take off my chuck. And so that'll give me 4 screws holding instead of just the one, and I'll feel better about that. But of course I still want to use tailstock support. Can't be too safe, you know. Well, I'm not sure where I want to start here. Let's see. I don't plan on doing too much turning on the outside, but let's see what we got. So I brought my tool rest up here to see where everything falls in the diameter of this piece. So this largest part, this largest little wing here, is very close to the tool rest. That's about 1/2 inch away. That's about 1.5 inches away. And that's about 2 inches away. So we'll never get to this one. But I want to take off some here and probably some here, just to help get it into balance somewhat. So that's where I'm going to start. We're going to be turning at 530 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. Okay, we've turned that one, and we've turned this one. And that's pretty much all I want to do on the outside here. Although there is I don't know if you noticed it, there's a pretty big chainsaw gash right here, and I'm much closer to it now than I was before I started. I could go another 1/2 inch and get rid of it, or I could use it as a feature like we did in a previous video. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll leave it. So that's all the turning I'm going to do on the outside of this piece. I'd like to leave as much bark as we can keep, and I just like the overall profile. I really like this part here, and this looks kind of cool too. So let's move to the bottom. See if we got it flat yet. I believe we do. Boy, some of it's kind of punky, huh? And it is terribly soft. I just didn't know what to expect with this Buckeye, but apparently it's a softwood. Well, let's mark out for our tenon while we're here. If I can even get a pencil to mark that. Not sure if I can see that when it's spinning, maybe, yeah. Yeah, that'll work. Maybe I'll put some CA on there to harden that up a little bit, just so it doesn't compress too much when I put it in the chuck jaws. And I'm going to use this diamond point tool to square up the sides of the tenon. Let me put some CA on there and harden that. Go ahead and say it. You should have put it on there first, Phil. Well, you're right. I still think it'll be okay, but you're right. I should have put it on first. I'm going to go ahead and put it all the way around. Okay, I'll just let that set up a bit and then we'll get back at it. Well, a couple of things I'm going to tell you. First, as is often the case when you make a little repair and you're waiting for the glue to dry, you start looking around going, well, maybe, oh, here's some loose bark here, and here's some loose bark over here, and here's some here, and here's some around here. So I fixed all those. I think I got it all that's loose. This looks loose, but it's not. And then I heard a sound, a real familiar sound. And if you promise to ignore the mess, I'll show you what I saw. I have my back to that door when I'm working at the lathe. But when someone comes into the shop and they step inside one step, I can hear the sound on the stairs over there. I heard that sound while I was working on this piece, and I turned around and there was the mama deer standing there looking at me. Now we got a mama deer and a baby deer running around here all the time. There's other deer that come and go, but the mama and the baby are here quite frequently. And I turned around and looked at her, and she looked at me, and then she turned around and walked off, and her baby was right behind her. Just kind of an interesting little afternoon for me. Quit looking at the mess. Now, I'm sure any new viewers think I'm nuts. My old viewers know that this is something that I do now and then, especially now, not so much then. I'm done turning. I'm gonna leave everything you're looking at here. I'm done turning on the outside. Of course, I'm gonna turn a bowl on the inside. And I know this probably looks ugly to you, but wait until this is all sanded up. I'll be using my Sandoflex extensively. I'll be sanding all of these turned parts, and of course I'll be sanding down here. This will look much better. This will look much better. I'll sand all that and get a finish on here, and you're not going to believe how nice this is going to look. Especially that right there. That's so cool. So bear with me. Don't be so judgmental just yet. Hang in there. Time for sanding. Well, this is going to take quite a little while. I'm going to start with my Sandoflex at 120 grit, and then I'll go to 180 grit. And that's as fine as I will go on all the bark and all of the unturned parts. When I finish with that, rather than spin the piece up and sand it, because there's just only this point right here and this stick out beyond everything else. So I wouldn't be able to sand anything except those two parts while it's spinning. So I'm just going to sand everything like this. Now I can spin it up to sand the bottom, and I will. And I'll show you what all that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. And that's just a small sample of what I'll be doing. I'll be doing that for quite a little while, and like I said, up through 180 grit. And then with the lathe spinning in reverse at about 380. And then with it not spinning. And I'll do that up through 400 grit. And I'll bring you back here in a bit and we'll put some finish on there, or sanding sealer probably. See you in a bit. I gotta tell you, I am tired. That was 3 hours I'm never gonna get back. 3 hours of sanding. And you can see here where the wood has deteriorated. No amount of sanding will remove that I can see. But I can tell you that that's not what you're going to see on this piece when you look at it, when it's all said and done and it's sitting in the house somewhere. You're going to see, well, you'll see what you're going to see pretty soon here. And everything, no matter what it looks like, this pitting along here, no matter what it looks like, it's smooth as silk. It's very, very smooth. Amazingly so. I just wish you could feel it. I'm gonna wipe all this on with a rag first. Oh, and this is sanding sealer, by the way. Shellac-based sanding sealer. It's called Zinsser Seal Coat. And then I will apply Zinsser shellac over this. So I've got some sanding sealer in this can and my brush. And I'm just gonna brush it. First I'm gonna start down here. I'm teasing myself with the bark. I'm just hoping it's gonna turn out great. Yeah, see? See how that's gonna look? It's gonna look nice. Very odd shape, huh? If this was my very first piece like this, I probably wouldn't have had the wherewithal to finish the sanding, because I wouldn't know what it was gonna look like. I probably would have just given up. But I've done a few, and I know it's going to look pretty dang cool. Just like this chainsaw cut right here. Now I need to come behind all of that real quick, just in case some of my brush strokes float over the side, over the edge. I have to wipe them out real quick on the turned parts. Okay, so I'll get on 2 coats of this sanding sealer and 2 coats of shellac, and when that's dry I will bring you back and we'll start working on the inside. That's going to be a chore all in itself. See you in a bit. I've got the piece turned around with the tenon mounted up in the chuck. Because that tenon is kind of deteriorated, the wood isn't that great. I don't want to stress this piece by turning it all with a gouge, so I'm going to drill out up to about 3.5 inches. That's the largest Forstner bit I have. Then I'll do my turning from there. It should relieve a lot of the stress on that tenon. So I'm going to start with a 2-inch, and like I said, work my way up to about 3.5. And the lathe is going to be spinning for this bit about 180 RPM. And I won't show you all of this because it gets pretty boring, but I'll show you now and then. This is end grain, but it's a much softer wood than the oak that I did this on not too long ago, on that vase that I did. You can see I drew a circle where the bowl can be. I might be able to go a little bit beyond that, but you can see the dip in the outside here and over here. So unless I want to go through the side, I have to be careful. I also spent some time, I spent a lot of time when I was sanding, finding loose bark and fixing it all over the outside. Well, when I turned it around here, I could see some more loose bark. So I fixed this one and this one and this one. But now I think it's pretty tight everywhere. I know that it is out this way, but I think I've got it all along that top edge. It might be a little different once I start turning on the top edge, but that won't be until after I hollow it out. And to do that, I'm going to use my 5/8" bowl gouge. We're going to be turning at 480 RPM, mask and face shield on. And the heater's on because it's 42 degrees out here. Now normally when you're turning a bowl you're going from the outside in, but because this is end grain it's far easier to come from the inside out. But I could use a little support this way. Well, I had to stop for a minute because I kept seeing little blood splotches here and there, and turns out it was coming from me. And I know what caused it, and I'll show you that a little bit later. I'm gonna flatten off the top of this because every time I come out here it's not flat, and so it causes my chisel to jump around a little bit. So I'm gonna flatten this off and then get back to the inside. Uh-oh. Dang it. I lost a piece of bark here. I was afraid of that. Now it's loose again. I wonder if that's around here somewhere. Yes, it is. Got 2 pieces. Yeah, I think I can glue that back on. I'll do that in a while. Okay, looks like it's flat. Now, let's see, where was it? Right here. This is very thin already. That's not much more than 1/8 of an inch right there. So I'm about as wide as I can go unless I want to come out the side, which I've done it before. It's not the worst thing that could happen. I could do it on purpose if I wanted to in 3 places. Sometimes that looks good, you know. I won't aim for that at this point in time, but if it happens, it happens. It can look really good. Several months ago, just right before I got, well, I was already sick, but just right before my surgery last March, Tom Jewett of Maine sent me a tool that he'd seen Andy Phillip use, and this is it. And it's from Hope Woodturning in the UK. I don't know if you can read that. A little glary, isn't it? Anyway, it's it's a very hefty tool. Look at the size of that bar. And it has an angled cutter, and that's what I cut my thumb on. It came with this little protective gizmo, and I pulled it off, and my thumb must have been hanging back here, and I cut it, because that is sharp, let me tell you. That little tip is sharp. I tried to use this on my oak vase that I did 2-3 weeks ago, and I got a heck of a catch, and I don't know why I did, but I'm going to try it here. And what it does is it cleans up the cuts, it smooths it all out because of that 45-degree angle that the cutter is set at. It's not straight up and down like that. It's 45 degrees, and that's supposed to give you a nice smooth cut, which you can see we need in there. This wood is quite soft and a little punky in areas, and it's just hard to get a smooth cut. So I'm going to give this thing a try. Now this is big compared to anything else I have. I took this handle from another toolbar that I had in there that I never ever used. I've had it for 5 years, never ever used it. So I pulled that bar out and put this bar in its place. And this is like, I think it's 32 inches long. It just keeps coming. It's just about all I can do to get this in here, and you in here, and my arm in here, and the tailstock in here. It's just about all I can do to even use it. But I'm going to give it a try and see if we can't clean this up. Takes a very light touch. And I'm going to start right at the bottom, see how that works. I'll try not to bump you. I'm right next to you here. See what that's doing for us. It's the wood, I think. It's just punky. Here's the noise. I'm sure the tool is capable of more than that. It's just this wood. If we had a nice, hard, smooth wood, I bet you that'd work slick. I guess it's better than it was, but it's just not great is all. And that is really punky, that one dark spot. All right, sorry Tom, I know it can do a better job than this. It's just the wood is all. So, that's all I can do. Time for sanding. Because this is so deep, I expect sanding to be a problem. It's a long reach in here, and this puts my fingers right near the top of the bowl while it's spinning. I can do, almost all the way down to about here, but then it gets a little scary because there's only about an inch between the trigger and the top of the bowl. And if something catches me or if I jerk or whatever, it's spooky. Fortunately, we have a solution. A lot of you know Tuffy Martinez. He's a good friend of mine, a good friend of the channel, longtime contributor and watcher of the videos. And he also has, let me say that Tuffy Martinez's name is on these sanders. This one. That'll get to the bottom of the bowl easily and about halfway up the side. And this one, which will get the sides of the bowl. And you can buy these as a set, or you can buy them individually. You can buy the refills for them. A machine shop that he's familiar with sells them and sends them to you. So if you go to tuffymartinez.com, you can see these, how they're used, how to refill them. But I'm going to demonstrate both of those, as well as my regular 2-inch disc sander. I'll start with this so you can see the problem firsthand, and then I'll show you the solution with the other two. And I'll do that as soon as I get my mask on. I've got the lathe spinning forward at about 325. You see how that kind of jerks me around down there, right in that corner. It just gets me. And I should tell you that I have a longer extension. I have a 6-inch extension for this. I've used it. It's so unwieldy. Now you're clear out here. And it's just about impossible to use. I never use it anymore. I used it once, that was plenty for me. So now this makes it easy. Easy peasy. And then to get the sides, you can use, as you just saw, you can use my 2-inch disc. That works fine. But that's even easier. And I don't get anything for telling you this. I don't get a profit. Tuffy doesn't get a profit. Tuffy just lends his name to it because he did invent these. So there you go. So that's what I'm going to be doing for a while, is sanding this. I'll bring you back here in a bit and we will put some sanding sealer in there. See you in a bit. Well, those sanders did an incredible job. Just incredible. So smooth inside here. Now the wood's a problem. And it's the wood, it's not the sanders, it's not me, but it doesn't bother me because, you know, it's natural. It is what it is. Out here, you can probably see some pitting. There's a little tiny bit inside, not bad. And then there's this. No way I could have created that. That's I actually worried about it in the beginning because it comes down here about a ½ an inch. But there's nothing on this side. It's just, I don't know what it is, a grain separation, maybe something like wind shake or something. But it's nice and solid, didn't come apart on me. So that's a good thing. Okay, that's sanding sealer, the first coat of sanding sealer. I'll put on a second coat, then I'll put on 2 coats of shellac, same as the outside. And I'll bring you back here in a bit and we'll take off the tenon. See you in a bit. Boy, I hope you can hear me over the rain. I've mounted a block of wood up in my chuck. I'm going to place the bowl over that and bring up my tailstock. I still have that center hole there for reference, so I can just drive my live center into that, and that'll help center it on that block of wood. I'll bring up my tool rest, spin the piece up and see if it seems to be running true. It's hard to tell because of the condition of that tenon. It's missing some there, but it looks like it's pretty true to me. Turn the speed up to about, let's see, about 480. I'm going to grab a 3/8 inch bowl gouge and commence to removing that tenon. I just want to check for clearance, and we have good clearance. And now that's pretty small, so I'm going to switch to a swept back bowl gouge so that I can get in there a little closer. And I'm going to turn the speed down to about 200 RPM, and I'm going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl. Pressure towards the headstock. Right hand on the gouge, left hand on the switch. And when the little nub stops turning, we'll know we're through. Or breaks away. Sometimes that happens too. And now I'll just take this over here to the workbench, sand that up, sign it, get it finished, and I'll be right back. Be sure you stick around at the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. If you'd share the video, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, here it is. One Buckeye Piggy bowl in the books. See the Piggy? There's his snout. Got one eye here, one eye down here, kind of sad looking. Looks like a Piggy to me. And then over here, we have Princess Leia's hair. Right, Roma? Princess Leia's hair, for sure. No doubt about it. And here, we have a bowl. And out here, we have just everything. Just everything. There's that chainsaw cut right on Princess Leia's hairdo. That looks okay. That's beautiful. That's my favorite part. And here's the bottom all finished up. And it feels so smooth. Just everywhere. Just everywhere. The wood part, the problem, that's smooth as can be, but it's textured as well. So you can feel the grain of the wood in there. But that's just the way this wood is, apparently. At least this piece of wood. It appears all over the bowl. Even on this really nice part. Maybe there's none over here. Yeah, I don't think there's any here. But it's on the bottom. It's just everywhere. It's a little bit, not as much, a little bit on the inside. A little bit in that darker part, and then a little bit alongside it as well. But that's okay. That's not what you're seeing. You're seeing Piggy. And all this other wonderfulness. And that bark that proves this was a tree. Well, I hope you like it. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun as well. End grain turnings can be a problem, but I think it turned out. I think it turned out pretty cool. Thank you, Carl from Berkeley, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about one a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are always welcome, and I love reading them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.